Hi. In this video, we will learn about the IRR function in Excel.
Excel's IRR function basically returns the internal rate of return of a series of cash flows that occur at regular intervals. So the function syntax is IRR, then we have to give the values or the cash flows, and there's an optional argument, guesstimate. So this is optional, and it's where we can give an estimate for the expected IRR, and the default value is 0.1 or 10%. Because this IRR calculation is based on a iterative process where it tries different values until you get the correct IRR. We can have the function if you want using a guesstimate. So the definition of IRR is the discount rate that results in an NPV of 0. So if you use the IRR as the discount rate for the cash flows, we should get a NPV of 0. So we again use this in capital budgeting like NPV to decide whether to accept or reject a project. So the rule is if the IRR is greater than the discount rate or the weighted average cost of capital of the company, the WACC, then we accept that project. And if the IRR is less than the discount rate or the WACC, we reject that project. Sometimes we might get two projects or more that have the same IRR, which is greater than our discount rate. So we have to accept both of these projects, but they are mutually exclusive. That means we can't take on both of them. So in that case, what we need to do is we go for NPV and decide on the basis of NPV. So we select the project that has the higher NPV because NPV is always superior to the IRR. And then if a project has a unique IRR, that means one single IRR, then we have a nice interpretation. For example, if it's 15% IRR, that means you get a return of 15% on the cash flow you are going to invest in the project. But sometimes you get more than one IRR, and there are situations you don't get any IRR at all. So in this case, there's no point of talking about IRR. So the concept of IRR is not accepted or used in these cases. So let's look at an example for a simple IRR. So we have these cash flows from year 0, from time 0 to year 5, and we can calculate IRR like this, equals IRR, and we just give the cash flow range starting from the initial investment time 0, and we get 32% as the internal rate of return. So if we calculate the NPV, we give the rate, we can give the IRR as the discount rate, and if we use the cash flows from 1 to 5 inside the function, and then we add the initial investment separately. So then we get a 0. So this IRR is correct. So that's why when we get, so IRR here is the discount rate that makes NPV 0. So this IRR rate is correct. Sometimes, as you may know, we get multiple IRRs. So here, if we calculate the IRR for this cash flow range, we can do it like this and press enter. We get minus 18 negative IRR. But here we didn't give a guesstimate, but let's try giving a guesstimate. So we have a range of guesstimates starting from negative 90%, that is minus 0.9, going up to 0.9 positive, that means 90%. So what IRR uses as an assumption, if we don't give a guesstimate, is 10% or the 0.1. So let's try giving different guesstimates into this function, equals IRR, And we can give the cash flow like this. And since we are going to copy it down, I need to fix the cell references F4. And then for the guesstimate, I will give first this. And I will copy it down. So as you can see, we are getting minus 38% for these guesstimates. And from here, we are getting minus 18%. And see, for 10%, we guessed minus 18%. So that's why the formula returned 18% when I did not give a guesstimate. But then again, at 30% and 50% onwards, the IRR changes to 215%. So that means there are multiple IRRs in this cash flow scenario. So basically, we cannot apply the concept of IRR in this situation. So that's why it's always best to try a range of guesstimates and see whether the IRR is unique and it doesn't change. So then, if we ask the question, are there any conditions that guarantee a project will have a unique IRR? So actually how it happens is, if the sequence of cash flows contains exactly one change in the sign, the project is guaranteed to have a unique IRR. Like here, we got initial investment, negative cash flow, and all of the cash flows after that are positive. So the sign change is only once from negative here to positive. Thereafter, there are no sign changes. So here, we can say there's a guaranteed unique IRR. So most of the time this works because basically most of the projects we start initially have negative cash flows and then it starts positive cash flow and then it continues. So we can apply IRR for generally most projects because of this reason. Then if the sign change is more than once, here we got negative to positive, one sign change, and then again another change to negative, and then again to positive. So there's more than one sign change in the cash flows. Now, in situations like this, we can't basically guarantee where we have a unique IR. So there we might have, but there is no guarantee there is a unique IRR in this situation. So only if the sign change is once, we can guarantee we have a unique IR. Then there might be situations where we don't get a IRR, a no IRR situation. So let's try these cash flows. If we put IRR function here, apply the range, and we get a hash now. So that means there is no IRR for this cash flow. So we can just double check by using the guesstimate range like this. So I have basically used the same guesstimate range as before, and I have copied down the formula. And see, there is no IRR for any of these guesstimates. So it's basically a situation where we are sure there is no IRR. So we can't basically use the concept of IRR in this situation as well.
Thanks for watching.